I think I had an epiphany. I guess that's what you would call it. But the other day when I was feeding my dogs, I have some 3 dogs that live in my backyard in a little fenced off area, and I was going to feed them one evening, and as I was walking back up through my backyard, I noticed some ants, like a lot of ants, in a trail, crawling across the tree root as I proceeded to walk across the tree root. I might have stepped on a couple, I was trying to avoid them, but it's always possible. And somehow that really set my brain into motion of thinking. Now, my brain just kind of never stops. It's always thinking. I'm always, thinking about things, overanalyzing everything. Maybe not, hardly ever the things that I should be analyzing, but I'm still overanalyzing everything and, just kind of overall just making meaning out of things that have no meaning. But for whatever reason, that one just quick moment of seeing some ants on a tree root reminded me and made me think about the fact that mankind, humans, are essentially their own worst enemy. We are. And that's kind of strange. And that's essentially why we have wars. That's why we do things to sabotage ourselves as a species, as a progressive race, basically. And it's not something we do, consciously. It's not like, yeah, we gotta go screw ourselves over and prevent us from doing whatever, or just go kill each other. It's just kind of, I guess, the way of nature at this point. Every species, including man, at least to start off with, with every species, there's always been a bigger fish. There always has been, so to speak, of course. There's always been something that, could just destroy you at any given time. Now, overall, as man, and by man I mean humanity, not a male, it's of course encompasses females as well, as we have, progressed and gotten rid of some of the bigger fishes that did exist, which I will get to soon, we've kind of made one for ourselves in the form of religion and spirituality and things like that. Spirituality is a little bit different, but in the way I'm talking about it, it applies. And I'm not getting into the religious aspects. I'm not saying anyone's is wrong or right by any means. I'm just saying that even if, you were to say it's right, which I'm not going towards that route, but if you were to say it right, the discovery of it, or in some people's thought processes, including my own, the invention of religion, that entire concept to begin with is a way of man acknowledging a bigger fish out there, something bigger than themselves, or bigger than humanity, that is there to control essentially and potentially wipe out, humanity. It is the bigger fish. It is the next level up on the food chain, so to speak. But at the same time, that has started to become less popular. I mean, sure, if you look at individual circumstances, it's still all over the place. But as far as widespread meaning goes, even if it's just simply because of the diversity of religious beliefs and things like that, it's becoming to be less popular. And so as we're starting to eliminate the, tangible bigger fishes that exist for us, which aren't other species so much, well, I guess you could say it's other species, animals that may kill off humans, bugs that may kill off humans. We're starting, to prevent things like that from happening. But not only that, but disease, hunger, weather, natural disasters, and hell, even boredom that could lead to someone killing themselves or something. And mental disorders. As we start conquering those kinds of bigger fish, so to speak, humankind is essentially getting more antsy. It's getting self-destructive in a sense because we don't have a bigger fish. And things are meant to have a bigger fish. There's always meant to be something out there to conquer you. You're never supposed to be in the peak, just the peak of power for everything. That's not how it is. And mankind has taken that and abused that. And the more we get used to not having one, the more self-destructive we are becoming because we are trying to basically be our own bigger fish. We're trying to limit ourselves because there's nothing out there to limit us. And yes, you can argue that the beauty of humanity is that we have no limits and yada yada. But as far as, you know, on this basic level, there still generally is and should be something like that. It's kind of weird. And even if, you know, we do completely eliminate all those other things, even war, even, you know, violence against each other, there still has to be something generally, and there probably will be something. If you think back to like Star Trek and Star Trek Enterprise, and yes, I really am referencing this, but once we have essentially conquered ourselves over again, once we got rid of war, once we got rid of disease, famine, just basically everything wrong with ourselves and reconquered ourselves as a species, there was still something out there to take power, to be the bigger fish. There were other alien species which, you know, sought to attack us violently, and there were the Vulcans who, as soon as we made good contact and stuff, basically assumed control of our progress. And yes, they probably had bigger fish too and such, but that's not what the focus is. The focus is on us. And there is always a bigger fish. And you would think, okay, well, if we are the, you know, if we establish ourselves as being the bigger fish, you know, establishing ourselves as being the tip top of the food chain as far as we've ever been able to control, why do we still seek to conquer ourselves? Why do we still seek to put, you know, even if it's just ourselves, put something else in that position? And I'm not entirely sure about that. I don't know if that's just a natural thing where there's supposed to be one, and so since we don't have it shoved in our face, there's not a giant stepping on us as if we were ants, then maybe just as a whole humans get some sort of like fix from proving itself over and over, you know, in all the movies where humanity is, you know, or anime or TV shows or anything, where humanity has to defend itself against another race, basically. The main theme is about how awesome it is to be human, how humans never give up, blah blah blah. So maybe there's some sort of fix, some sort of internal drive for humans, for humanity to prove itself, to continue to strive to be the biggest fish, even if we're not there. And so, even if we do have, or like we have gotten to that point, we still have to challenge ourselves and make it to that, like to continue to prove ourselves to be up there. And yes, that could be seen as a good thing. Sure, there could be, you know, there are some great results that can come from that, especially as far as sciences, development, you know, that kind of intellectual progress goes. That's great. But at the moment, we're still looking to do that kind of thing in a violent manner. We're still fighting ourselves, basically. And I think until that point, this will be a destructive pattern. Granted, it's not something we can just reach out and control. It's not something that we can necessarily do anything about. But it's really interesting to see that we're basically destroying ourselves, at least for the time being, because we are all there is. We are the top of the food chain, so we just have to feed off each other. And I would honestly like to see the world move away from the violence, even though I do see it as being a natural, it's just the way of nature. So we're gonna, since we have nothing bigger to fight, we have to fight ourselves. I see that as being natural. I would like to see us move away from that, move towards only focusing on intellectual development, reaching out to, hell, you could say like the concept of mystery, like the mystery of space, things we don't know, could still be a, you know, upper level thing that we have to conquer. So let's work to conquer that instead of just killing each other aimlessly. I apologize if this made absolutely zero sense, if I sound like a lunatic. But this is kind of how my brain works, as just every second of the day. Literally, this is probably what took like a 10-minute video, I think. All of this talk is essentially what the process that went through my head after seeing those ants, within like maybe a 2-minute time span of me finishing walking through my backyard, locking up and stuff. And then I was distracted by talking to Chew or playing video games, and that was the end of it. But it's at least something to think about. I appreciate you guys listening to my talks and watching the video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button. If you would like to see more content, including Left 4 Dead, random games with Chew, more Halo, things like that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and you know how it works. And leave a comment if there's something you'd like to hear my opinion or thoughts on. Thank you for watching again, and have a nice day.